Listen to the rules and procedures that will follow for tonight's meeting.
Good evening, and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Town of Babylon Zoning Board of Appeals. The following is the procedure that will be followed tonight. The matters will be called in the order they appear on the calendar, with adjourned matters being called at the end of the regularly scheduled matters. Matters cannot be heard prior to their published scheduled time. When your matter is called, please submit the affidavit of posting to the secretary and proceed to the podium and give your name and address. The chairperson will then swear you in and read into the record information we have from your application, comments from various town departments, and any correspondence received on your application. The chairperson will then ask you to make whatever presentation you wish to make to the board. After you have made your presentation, the board will ask whatever questions the board deems appropriate, and then we will ask for comments from the public. If you wish to speak for or against an application, we ask that you wait until you're acknowledged. Come forward, give us your name and address, tell us where your property is in relation to the property that's in question tonight, and then please direct your comments to the board, not the applicant or the applicant's representative. We have to keep a record, and we cannot do that if there are people talking over each other or cross conversations. If someone has spoken for or against an application, and they have said exactly the same thing that you wish to say, it will have the same force and effect in the record if you give your name and address, are sworn in, and say that you join in those comments. If you have anything additional to say, please don't hesitate to do so, but keep in mind that you will be given only one opportunity to speak. After the public has spoken, the board may ask the applicant to come back to answer any questions that may have come up as a result of the public comments, or for the applicant to summarize. When the applicant comes back to answer any additional questions, if that happens, that does not start a second round of public comments. Once the matter has been heard, various things may occur. The board may decide the application immediately. It may reserve decision. If the board reserves decision, that does not mean the matter is approved or denied. It just means that the board needs more time to decide, may want to go out and look at the site again, or might want to review the documents and testimony further before making a decision. In either event, the applicant will receive the board's decision in writing shortly after the board makes its decision. If the application is approved, that does not mean that you can then go ahead and start construction or whatever it is that you requested from the board. You will have to wait for the building permit to be obtained from the building department before your go-ahead. On some occasions, the matter may be continued for another night. If it is continued, in most cases it will be for the submission of documents, a new survey, new plans, or something of that nature. If that's the case, no one needs to come back on the new date. The documents will be submitted and no further testimony will be taken. On rare occasions, a matter may be continued for future testimony. If that's the case, then people would have to come back to testify. If matters are adjourned at an open meeting on the scheduled date of hearing, no further notice need be given unless specifically required by the board on the date the adjournment is granted. 3 rules that may affect your ability to proceed tonight. 1. If the sign was not posted for 10 days, we cannot hold the hearing tonight. 2. If you commence this proceeding while you own the property, but no longer own the property, and you are here now to continue with the application, you will need either the written consent of the new owner or the new owner to be present for the hearing. This situation could come about if you sold your house or building, money was held in escrow at closing for a certificate of occupancy or permit, and you're here tonight to clear that up. Lastly, if your application is a commercial application and it's other than a renewal and there is more than one tenant in the building, then you need your landlord to be here. Is there any applicant that has any difficulty with those situations and would need an adjournment tonight?
Is there anyone that would need an adjournment? Please rise and join the board in Pledge Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First application is application 23021 of Darren Taylor, property located in Amityville. Name and address for the record.
Brian Fiore, 208 North Wisconsin Avenue, Massapequa, New York.
Okay, and you are here as?
I'm the architect that I was working with Mr. Taylor, handling his pool permits, and so,
Okay. You affirm to tell the truth?
yes.
For the record, we have a planning division memo dated March 21st, 23, environmental control memo dated March 27th, 2023. If approved, this application will not result in significant impact. A survey by Gerald Lenzi dated October 24th, 22. Tax map acting as an area map, and,
Chairman, we have 10 photographs.
okay, what would you like to tell us about the application?
Sure, yes. So we're requesting variances in connection with maintaining an existing shed, concrete pad, and we're replacing the existing concrete patio that's in connection with a new pool, which is currently permitted and installed. So I'll address the shed. Mr. Taylor has a corner lot, has some more restrictions on it than a typical interior lot. The shed is actually located in the side corner in the front yard. So where it's required to be 40 feet, it's 22 and a half feet from the front. And it's required to be 8 feet from the rear yard, it's 3 feet. And these are determined by the square footage of the shed. Since this shed is over 100 square feet, it's required to have those setbacks. If it was under 100 square feet, it would only need to be 2 feet away from the property line. So this shed's 135.29 square feet. It has all the characteristics of a typical shed and not a large accessory structure like a garage would normally be set back 8 feet, and it's 8'10" high. So it's also located behind a 6-foot high PVC fence. And there's a concrete pad attached to the shed. It's being used as a dog pen. It doesn't have the required 2-foot setbacks from the property lines. So from the front yard on Winter Lane, it's 0.5 feet and 1 feet from the rear yard. So this is a dog pen in the corner of the lot, used so he doesn't destroy their nice lawn that they have back there, or did have, will have. Then we have the proposed concrete patio, which is replacing the original patio. Currently, with the house, the shed, and the pool, without the patio, we're already over the building area. So any size patio is going to push them into a lot area variance. It was originally rejected for the existing patio that was there, but Mr. Taylor informed me he's going to be replacing it. So I suggested we show the new patio on the site plan now before it's built, which we're glad we did, because it's, from the letter I received yesterday, we're going to reduce the scope of the patio in size because the lot coverage was apparently, very high. So I have revised site plans and revised calculations for the new percentages I'd like to submit.
That man?
So we have since reduced the original size of the patio. Instead of a proposed building area of 52% over by 4,904.43 square feet, we reduced this to 31.63% over by 1,164.3 square feet, where the 20% is required. So we feel this is a pretty substantial reduction in size and a more practical variance request than what was originally proposed. I'm showing, we didn't include the walkways and the pool surround walkways in the square footage of the patio. I only, included the patio structure itself in the revised calculations. So we're also in top of the regular building area, we're over the rear yard area, 45% accessory rear yard coverage is allowed. Originally, with the large patio and pool, we were at 96% of the rear yard covered, over by 1,380.29. With the reduced patio, we went from 96% to 51.58%, over by 114.77 square feet. We feel that this corner lot with the two front yards reduces what would normally be their backyard area. So with the side front, not counting in the square footage. So, but they have a smaller rear yard area than a typical interior lot with this side front yard not included in that. And that pretty much completes the application. This property is very well maintained, and these alterations are in characteristic with the surrounding neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Turn the hearing over to Mr. Perotti.
How you doing? How's everything going? I did pass by, and yes, it is well maintained. You did answer the main question was about the patio, because it was very huge.
Yes.
It covered pretty much your whole backyard.
Correct.
So we will look it over just to make sure everything's correct. But that was pretty much all I had. That's all the questions I have, Mr.
Any other questions from the board? Would anyone like to be heard on this application? For the record, there are none. We're going to close the hearing. We're going to reserve decision. You'll get the decision in the mail. We'll take a look at the revised plans and make sure that the lot coverage is correct.
Correct. For the record, also, on this letter, he's got a lot area of 9,426 square feet, and I calculated at 10,006.16 square feet based on the survey.
Can you repeat that again?
10,006.16 square feet based off the numbers on the survey.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll take a look at that
Thanks.
also. As we go into that. Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming
Thank
down.
you.
Next application is application 23022 of Thomas Zawala, property located in Deer Park.
Hello.
Name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Tracy Rivera, 363 Terryville Road, Port Jeff Station, New York, 11776. Tracy's Permits. Agent for the applicant?
Okay. Do you affirm to tell the truth?
Yes.
For the record, we have a Planning Division memo dated March 21st, 2023. Environmental Control memo dated March 24th, 2023. If approved, this application will not result in significant impact. A survey by Thomas Zawala, dated April 1st, 2022. Tax map acting as an area map. And,
Chairman, we have 4 photographs.
okay, would you like to tell us about the application?
Yes, Mr. Sewell is a surveyor. He plans on being here, but he's actually on a job in Albany right now. I'm the one that presented the application, so my name's on the paperwork as an agent. We are here basically just looking to propose a pool. Because there is a rear deck on the property that's existing that originally did not require a permit, but because we're here for a lot coverage percentage, the deck then had to be legalized. If you were to deduct the pool and the deck, the property is still over in comparison, so we're already non-conforming before the deck and the pool were added, and all we're looking to do is put a pool in the yard. I was able to foil several properties in the area, hoping that I would have had the grants or the decisions back, because there's several applications that come before you on a regular basis for situations such as this, but I didn't get any of the foils back. Once I received the planning board's comments back, I didn't really feel that it was a need to adjourn this to give you guys the grant decisions, because I'm sure there were other applications that have been granted. So therefore, we're before you now asking to see if we can get this in-ground pool put in.
Okay. would you agree that the pavers not be any closer than 2 feet to all property lines?
Absolutely. If not, there'd be a runoff issue. If you get any kind of rain or water, it goes into the neighbor's area. So I think 2 feet is more than acceptable, right?
I have no further questions. Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, I have one, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
You said the deck doesn't need a permit?
It never needed one because it's less than I forgot how low it is on the ground. Bear with me. It's only a couple inches off the ground. It never needed a permit, but because it was counted in the lot coverage calculations, they had to put the pool. So then at the last minute, we were getting plans for the deck and legalizing a deck.
Just trying to confirm, that's all.
Absolutely.
The deck is a foot high, and the applicant has applied for a permit.
Mm-hmm.
The application needs to be amended to add that as part of this application.
So we need to add a second variance? No?
All in connection with.
Oh, all in connection.
Yeah, we submitted that application that you're talking about. It was submitted because when we originally submitted the zone board, it was kicked back to kind of go over the decking, and I couldn't understand until I realized it was a lot coverage issue, and they're calculating the deck, so therefore we had to throw the deck in.
It was included in the.
Yes.
part, it's all
Yeah, it's
included.
definitely
Okay.
included in the calculations.
Okay.
There'll be no errors in the calculations in the future.
I will make a motion to approve application 23022. All in favor? The amendment is, what?
All in connection with maintaining.
Oh. All in contact, okay, all in connection with maintaining the rear deck. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
That's for the amendment.
Oh, do you want a condition on there? I asked her already, the 2 foot? Oh, I'm sorry.
Subject to the 2 foot on the pavers, right?
Yes,
Yeah, we
subject to
already
the 2
knew
foot
that.
on the pavers, okay?
I got you on that. Thank you so much.
Everybody
Thank you.
approved? All in favor? Okay, here we go. We were off a week. Okay, approved. Wait, what is his name? Edusco? Next application is application 23013 of George and Stacy Hedusco. I'm trying, Lindenhurst.
Hello, my name is George Hedusco. My address is 1033 North Niagara Avenue.
Do you
Lindenhurst,
affirm
New
to
York.
tell the truth?
Yes.
For the record, we have a planning division memo dated March 21st, 2023, environmental control memo dated March 27, 2023. If approved, this application will not result in significant impact. A survey by Peter J. Barbizon dated August 9th, 2022, tax map acting as an area map, and
There are no pictures.
what would you like to tell us about the application?
We're looking to build a two-tier deck and an adjacent paver patio. This is going to abut a swimming pool to allow direct entrance into it and the installation of a ladder. The variance we're requesting is permission to increase the total building area from the current maximum of 20% up to 35.6%, or a little above 1,000 square feet, 1,017 square feet, and also diminish the distance from the rear lot line from 8 feet to 6.3 feet.
Thank you. Turn the hearing over to Mr. Rigney.
With the paver patio, would you agree to keep that 2 feet off your property line?
Yes.
Okay. And would you agree not to enclose any of the decks?
Yes, I just
Above
have a
or
question
below?
about that. Enclosed
Sure.
just means like an overhead enclosure?
Correct. Walls?
Yes, I agree.
Not like a sunroom, none of that?
Yep.
Okay? Good, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, we did not receive the affidavit of posting.
Sign posted for 10 days?
Yes. Yeah,
you-
I have the affidavit.
You have the affidavit?
We submitted that, right? Yeah. I
We
thought
don't
I
have it.
submitted. But I have it with me if you need it.
All right, so before you go, make sure you take care of that, okay?
Sure.
All right. And would anyone like to be heard on this application? Or did I ask that already? For the record, there are none. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve application 23-013 with the condition that the pavers be at least 2 feet off the property line and the decks not being closed.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good luck. Just take care of that affidavit before you go.
Thank you.
Do you have an additional copy, or are we just going to be submitting one? Okay. Okay, next application is application 23023 of Michael Scarione, property located in Amityville. Name and address for the record.
Good evening. Christina Bravin, Morano Expediting, 2938 Hempstead Turnpike, Levittown, New York. Agent for the homeowner who's here this evening with me.
And do you affirm to tell the truth?
Yes, I do.
For the record, we have a Planning Division memo dated March 22nd, 2023. Certificate of occupancy from 2006. There was a building permit. There's covenants and restrictions per planning board file with the clerk on August 9th, 2000. Town of Babylon, conditions for certificate of occupancy, attachment for certificate, okay. Covenants and restrictions by the board, okay, that just spells everything out. Environmental control memo dated March 27, 2023. If approved, this application will not result in significant impact. A survey by Frank Gazzalo dated December 15, 2022. Tax map acting as an area map, and
Mr. Chairman, we have 4 photographs.
would you like to tell us?
Okay. So we're here this evening requesting permission to install a sunroom, which would reduce the setback from 40 feet in the rear yard to 20.4. Increase the total building area from 20% to 46.53%, and reduce the side yard from 2 feet to 0 feet to maintain a shed. So the shed, it's a Rubbermaid brand, 93 square feet, 7.7 by 12.1. Sheds under 100 square feet don't require a permit. In fact, when my client called to make sure of that, he was told he doesn't need a permit, but he wasn't made aware of the setback requirement, nor was he made aware of that it would ever be calculated into lot coverage. So upon filing for the sunroom, this is how this all transpired. So he is aware of the planning memo comments, and he is willing to move that into compliance. Okay, and for the sunroom, it's going to be built right on top of grade on the existing paver patio. It's not heated. It's for seasonal use only. It cannot be habitable. It's a shed-style roof. Overall height to the ridge is 11 feet 7 inches. Property lines are reasonably screened, so there's no issues with the neighboring parcels being impacted in any negative way. He's discussed the project with the neighbors, and they're on board with that. With respect to the location of the sunroom, and it will be incorporating one of their 2 rear doors on the home, and so we're aware of the planning comments with respect to having 2 rear entrances. And the reason for that is one entrance, which they currently use to get to the backyard, which comes off the living room, so that'll be in the sunroom. And then the sunroom itself will have a door on the east elevation, or the east side wall, to then access the room, the patio. The other door is an entrance to a bathroom, so that when they're outside, they can just go to the bathroom without going all throughout the house. They're actually common in the area. He's aware of some of his neighbors having it, had no idea that it's ever been an issue or with the board, or requiring any sort of covenants or restrictions. And so for the pool and paver patio area, so this was before the board in 2016. As you mentioned, a grant was given for the pool for a variance for the setback, as well as the increase in building area from 20% to 27.9% at that time. So the pavers were done at that time, as soon as the pool was completed, and there was comments in the planning memo about why the permit wasn't closed out or inspection done, And we reached out and found out that unfortunately, whoever was handling that application in the town passed away, fell through the cracks, and so CO was never issued. They assured us they have everything that they need, and they will issue the CO along with finalizing any parts of this application that may or may not be approved by this board. When this was done in 2016, the pavers, I mean, in our experience, it wasn't necessarily incorporated as stringently into lot coverage, so it never came up until recently. You know, I don't know if there's changes in terms of who's reviewing the code recently, but so it's ready to address that now. Of course, we're filing for this application. So if you have any questions, I have all the plans on hand. I have extra photographs if you need any.
Okay, thank you. Turn the hearing over to Mr. Perotti.
How you doing? So you agreed to move the shed then, correct?
Yes, they can move the shed, absolutely.
All right. Can I make a motion to delete variance number 3? So I make a motion for application 23-023 to delete variance number 3.
All in favor?
Aye.
Also, you had mentioned about the final inspection. So you did reach out. Are they going to do another inspection?
Yes. And they'll issue the CO. They said that they had everything that was required. They'll just do the inspection.
Okay. And now the 2 doors, you said on the east side is going to be where the sunroom, or is it the west side?
Let me just double check the elevation on this. So if you have the full set of plans on the sunroom, if you go to it's page R1, you'll see that there is a slider. Let me just double check where it is. Yes, it should be the east elevation where the door would be. And so there's a set of existing steps from the home that they would incorporate also into the sunroom.
So it's going to be the quad door, correct?
Yes.
Now, on the plan and memos, give me 1 second.
The dwelling
So-
has a covenant and restriction that they can only have one entrance in the front and one entrance in the rear. So you'd have to apply to the planning board to lift that CNR.
Okay, so entrance, it enters into a bathroom, so we file for that just as a door, or how does that exactly get filed for?
The door and the entrance to the bathroom?
The rear door how do you want us to call out which entrance it is? It's just it's extra entrance? How do you want us to specify which one it is? Is there any,
For the planning board?
yeah, is there any specifics, or? It's just, we've never gone through it before, I just want to make sure I have everything.
Yeah, just identify all 3 entrances into the house.
Okay.
I have no further questions.
Any other questions from the board? Would anyone like to be heard on this application? For the record, there are none. We are going to close the hearing and reserve decision. Get the decision in the mail. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
Next application is application 23024 of Jack Peretta, property located in West Babylon. Name and address for the record, please.
Daniel Burko, architect, P.O. Box 610, Lindenhurst, New York, 11757.
And do you affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
For the record, we have a planning division memo dated March 22nd, 2023. A approval from this board, case number 11002, based on the plan submitted. Environmental control memo dated March 27, 2023. If approved, this application will not result in significant impact. A survey by Jason Leadingham dated June 8, 2022. Tax map acting as an area map. And
Chairman, we have 10 photographs.
would you like to tell us about the application?
I'm here tonight on behalf of Jack Peretta, the homeowner. I did read through the memo that was sent over yesterday, and when I initially designed the proposed second floor, it does conform to actually all of the zoning issues until the fact of the pavers that are in the backyard came up, which then put everything over. The pavers do have a 2-foot setback around the entire area for drainage. They also have been there since that pool was installed. So I guess since I had a 25-foot, square foot rear cantilever on my addition, which is, I guess that's why we're at the board for everything at this point. The front property line shed on the, next to the garage, we're just gonna take that down. I know you guys asked for it to be relocated, but it's a 4x8 man shed with like rakes and stuff in it. So that is gonna come down. It was granted variances, obviously, for the property because I believe it's about 23 feet from the street. The new second floor does maintain the 30-foot. It meets the setback on the side yard as well. So if you guys have any questions for me, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Turn the hearing over to Ms. McCullough.
All right, so the main concern was the shed, so we're removing the shed?
Done.
Done. All right.
Done.
I like that.
Very
That's
simple.
And we're going straight up over the garage.
It's actually set back about 4 feet from the front, so I have the 30-foot front yard setback.
Perfect. I have no further questions. I will make a motion to remove variance number 3 on application 23-024.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, we did not receive the affidavit of posting. If you can just get your last name first.
Burko, B-U-R-K-O. It was emailed to the office. I got copied on it. The homeowner sent it about, whatever day it was supposed to be sent, it was emailed to Lisa? Lena, yes.
Do you have a copy of the email?
I can get it, yes. Yes. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, the sign was posted, though.
100%, yes.
Any other, would anybody like to be heard on this application? For the record, there are none.
You gonna wait, or you gonna? Oh, okay. I make a motion to approve application 23-024 as amended.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Have a nice evening.
You too. Next application is application 22001 of Lee John Schneider, property located in Amityville. Good night. Name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Darrell J. Conway, 57 West Main Street, Babylon, New York.
For the record, we have a Planning Division memo dated March 21st, 2023. We have a approval by this board, case 09101, and there were covenants and restrictions that were filed. Environmental Control Memo dated March 27, 2023. If approved, this application will not result in significant impact. A survey by Harold Bosch, dated August 17, 2010. Tax map acting as an area map. And
Mr. Chairman, there's 5 photographs.
would you like to tell us about the application?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm here on behalf of the applicant Lee Schneider of 16 Francine Avenue in Amityville. Subject parcel is 16 Francine Avenue in Amityville. Suffolk County tax map is District 100, Section 164, Block 1, Lot 28. It is Zone Residence B. The requested relief is permission to diminish the west side yard from 12 feet to 6.1 feet for an existing second floor addition and outside cellar entrance. Also to diminish the total side yards from 30 feet to 24.4 feet, increase the total building area from 20% to 22.19%, and diminish the rear lot line setback for a shed, an existing shed, from 2 feet to 0.4 feet. The subject parcel itself is a 75 by 100 parcel with an existing 2-story residence. The variance arose from plans to dormer the rear of the existing home. We are not expanding the footprint of the residence. We are not encroaching on the side yards. We are merely, or the applicant merely wants to dormer the rear portion of the second story. And the building department has ruled that since you're dealing with a building that is already existing, but you are even going up, it requires, that second story requires a variance for the side yards. The proposed work is a second-story dormer which will lift the roof, the rear portion, not the front, lift the roof, permit an enlargement of the existing 2 bedrooms on the second floor, and more importantly, expand the bathroom to permit a tub. The installation of the rear cellar entrance is, again, only because it's adjoining to an existing footprint or base of the structure. So again, that makes it within the side yard setback rule. But we are not encroaching on the west side of the side yard. We are not making it any smaller, the side yard setback. And we are merely entering, putting in a rear cellar entrance. It could have been, if he moved it over 5 feet, you actually would not have had a variance for the for the cellar entrance. The shed, it came up from the survey that was offered with this application. The existing shed, which is about 20 years old, was placed, as you see from the survey, it's kind of diagonally, and the point of it is 0.4 feet away from the rear property line. That requires a variance because it requires 2 feet from the minimum setback is 2 feet. I noted the memo from the planning department, and certainly we agree that should this, we looked at the shed. I looked at the shed personally. It's a wood shed, and if you try to pull it off of its footings, the shed itself will disintegrate. So yes, we would absolutely, once that is replaced, presuming the wood rots and it's going to be replaced, it will be replaced within the appropriate setback of 2 feet. And also, it's a better, if you align it along the rear property line 2 feet away, rather than the angle, that would be a better situation. I've read the planning board memo. We've agreed with the facts recited in there, and as I said, we're ready to, once that shed has a shelf life, and if it's replaced, we'll replace it accordingly, in accordance with the code.
Okay, thank you. Turn the hearing over to Mr. Parodi.
I know you answered the question, but just to, so you can approve as well. So if the shed is ever to be taken down, can you relocate it to a conforming location?
Absolutely.
Okay. Also, what is the use of the cellar entrance?
Just to put the rear, just to put the equipment, the summer equipment, the furniture, the actual downstairs, rather than going through the house with it. It's an unfinished basement. It's not, it's just cement walls and just for storage.
So there's no future plans for any accessory apartment or anything like that?
We will stipulate no livable space in that basement.
And the other question was if it was a finished basement, but you just answered that, says unfinished. Okay, I have no further questions.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions from the board? Would anyone like to be heard on this application? For the record, there are none. Good.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve application 22-001 with the condition, if the shed is ever taken down, to be relocated to a conforming location.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
With the condition that also the basement is living space, it's non-living space.
Which we consent to both conditions.
Okay.
Thank
All
you,
in
Mr.
favor?
Chairman.
Yeah, we did that, right? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Next application is 23014 of Karen and Christopher Schmidt, property located in North Bab. North Bab. I can't say North Bab.
Hello.
Yes, Tim, can I say North Bab?
Yes, absolutely. How are you?
Name and address for the record.
Christopher Schmidt, 159 Whittier Avenue, North Babylon.
Karen Schmidt, same address.
And do you both affirm to tell the truth?
Yes.
For the record, we have a Planning Division memo dated March 22nd, 2023. Environmental Control memo dated March 24th, 2023. If approved, this application will not result in significant impact. A survey by Razam Ali dated February 22nd, 2021. Tax map acting as an area map and...
Chairman, there's 7 photographs.
Okay. What would you like to tell us about the application?
Yeah, we're just looking to take an existing above-ground pool and turn it into a in-ground pool, in addition to removing a whole lot of concrete that's currently around it and a nickel-lock patio that extends up to, or very close to the fence line, so we're removing that as part of the process to be within the proper setbacks. We are a corner property, so we are here in part on the variance because our ability to put a pool within the yard is quite restricted. We already have an existing prior zoning board variance for the attached garage on the side of the house. That was done back quite a few years ago. But we're just trying to stay within, the restrictions of what we must do.
Good. Thank you. Turn the hearing over to Mr. Shepherd.
Good evening. Just 3 small issues. That very well kept house, by the way.
Thank you.
Very nice neighborhood. So it was a ZBA approval granted, and I just would need to confirm that you removed the concrete and the bricks?
That's all, yeah, it's all being torn up. Our brick guy came and we talked to him about cutting it back. He's like, you really just tear it all up because the pool, you'll never get the same levels. We're like, okay, so
Okay.
that's one.
And you do agree to the 2-foot setback off the end, the property line?
Yeah, we
Yes.
double-checked the loop lock.
There's also an issue with the fence
Okay.
that's on somebody else's property or runs over.
Do you mean the one that runs along our backyard? We actually share a fence with that neighbor. We split the cost of putting in that
Yeah, that's
vinyl
actually a
fence.
shared fence.
Okay, so...
And they actually opted to angle it a little bit so that it would match up with the other people's fence, so there would be a huge gap. Does that make any sense?
There was a dog issue with all the neighbors, so everyone's like, let's just line up those fences.
Gotcha. Harriet, yeah.
Is the fence running along Harriet Road?
No, the fence that we, well, either the whole fence, we split the cost with all of them, but the one that divides our property, that's a shared fence
Yeah,
between the
that
two of
north,
us.
I guess that northeast corner is the one that looks like it
The
overrides
one
on
on
our
the
neighbors.
survey surpasses your property line along Harriet Road.
So that was, I'm confused because that was on a 2019 survey that we had submitted when we did the double dormer for the house. We got the CO, we finished the CO after COVID in '21, and there was no issues with anything on our property with that CO. So when that came back, we didn't understand why it wasn't an issue in 2019 when it was on that survey, but now it's an issue with this, when nothing changed on that fence from 2019.
How long's that fence been there?
5 years, 6
At
years?
least.
Yeah. It was done with shortly after the construction of the house.
And I think that I sent a copy of the CO with my paperwork to show that we did get a CO from the 2019 work that we started, finishing after COVID, with 0, not a single person raised an issue from that board.
And see, I don't remember, I drove by and I looked at it, everything looked nice, and I just...
We got nice shrubbery on the outside of it, try to
Yeah.
landscape it nice.
Do you share the same fence with the neighbors behind you?
No, that's our fence. Those neighbors who the previous owners didn't want to share in the cost of a new vinyl fence, so we just did the front, the Harriet side, and then we shared with that other neighbor.
Yeah, the wooden fence.
It's still a wooden fence that separates us from that other neighbor.
All right, what do you want to do?
I can research the fence, but the fence is not on the property line. The fence is the property line. So I'd recommend that the board hold decision.
Okay. Yeah. We're going to need to research this just before we can approve everything.
fences over its own, you know.
Can't give you permission, and then you'll get the well, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman. We just need to clarify.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Would anyone like to be heard on this application? For the record, there are none. We're going to close the hearing. We're going to reserve decision. We're going to just do a little bit of research on these fences and see where we're at back in then and stuff like that, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next application is application 22-247 of 44 Saab LLC, property located in Lindenhurst.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the record, my name is Wayne Edwards, Sawn Ward, 333 Earl Ovington Boulevard, Uniondale, New York. I'm the attorney for the applicant. We're here regarding 305 East Sunrise Highway.
Hold on one second. Let me just
Okay.
read it. Let me read
Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
paperwork I have into the record. For the record, we have a planning division memo dated March 23rd, 2023. We have a approval from this board, application 17-185 for a special exception permit, diminish off-street parking, outdoor storage of vehicles. Department of Environmental Control memo dated March 28, 2023. Fire Marshal's report dated March 30th, 2023. No violations. Suffolk County Planning memo dated March 16, 2023, a decision of local determination, take no position for or against a site plan by Billow and Garrett Group, dated, or last dated, I believe, July 30th, 2020. Tax map acting as an area map, and
Chairman, we have 5 photographs.
would you like to tell us about the application?
Yes, I would. Sorry for starting early. So we're before you today to renew a special exception permit to operate a public garage for auto repair, sales of vehicles, and a special exception permit to operate a private car wash in preparation of vehicles, and diminish off-street parking from 63 spaces required to 15 parking spaces provided, allow outdoor storage of vehicles per the site plan submitted. You're basically familiar with this property in as much as it was before this board in 2017. We've submitted a copy of the decision you have in your records of this board, 17185, which granted a special exception permit for the public garage and auto repair for a 5-year period and various variances. What has happened since that point in time is that the paper street Richmond Avenue that ran through the 2 properties where the storage was and as well as the showroom has been abandoned and incorporated into the dealership. So we've submitted a site plan to the planning board of this town. They reviewed it and issued a resolution number 2021-003 approving the modification of the approved site plan. I'd like to submit a copy of that decision, if you don't have it.
And we may, do we have?
So we reconfigured the site plan to provide more storage of vehicles. And the dealership has been operating successful. It's a Subaru dealership. From when I was talking to my client today, it's been a big improvement from what was there prior to. You're also familiar that they have the service facility across the street, which was former Mavis and some sort of repair center. In terms of the operation of the facility, it sells new and used cars. Its repair facility, as I indicated, is across the street. All of the covenants and restrictions that were incorporated for a public garage in your previous decision are still in effect and was recorded in the Suffolk County Clerk's office. Now, the question comes down, I've looked at the memo that was prepared by the Planning Department Division. One of the requests was to know whether there was sufficient employee parking and customer parking, in as much as we're reducing it from the previous site plan in terms of 63 and providing 15 spaces. Those 15 spaces are located on the east side of the property. There's now a fire lane, if you look at the plan, and on either side of the fire lane, there are parking spaces. But look on the west side of the property, you'll note along the side of the building, which was the Richmond Avenue side, we have some substandard spaces which are also used by our employees, and also on the north side, on the side facing Sunrise Highway, there are additional spaces. So there is enough parking on site to accommodate the employees. Normally at the dealership on a typical day, there are 10 employees, sales managers, as well as salesmen and finance managers as well. So there hasn't been an issue. As I indicated, you have perfect proof. It's been operating for 5 years. It hasn't imposed any burden on the community. We're not parking on streets, even though the streets behind are industrial. Some of the industrial users have parking, others don't. Regarding the flags, I spoke to my client today. I guess flags and car dealerships go together. You see them, but we'll be taking those down, and the car that's parked on the front lawn will also be taken down. The hours of operation will remain the same for the dealership: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., Friday and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sunday 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. This is a modification of the site plan. In your previous decision, you found under section 712B that it really had, in terms of the balancing test, there was no, the benefit to the applicant outweighed any detriment to the community, and I don't think there's been any changes. In fact, it's been an improvement in that as much as we can incorporate that Richmond Avenue property into our operation officially. Does the board have any questions?
Turn the hearing over to Mr. Rigney. Thank you.
All right, so, the banners in the cars, that was a big thing. So by you removing that, we appreciate that, thank
Yeah.
you. The road that was now adopted by your applicant here, keep that open, please, that's a fire access road. Any fire access to the building, I see that the road here, no parking fire lane, that's the road that you guys,
Are you talking about Richmond Avenue?
yes.
The Richmond Avenue has a gate on it, and during business operations, it is
Okay, what's
open,
the-
but
the
there is
road that
also...
they adopted?
What?
The road,
It was abandoned.
right, that's gonna be a fire access lane.
No, the fire access lane is
There's no
located,
park.
the fire access lane is located on the other side of the property.
Okay.
This is what they have to keep, they have to keep clear of this.
Right.
They can't overcrowd vehicles, and you have a clear fire access.
Right, your site plan, it shows no parking fire lane.
Yeah, that's on the east side of the
So we
property.
gotta just keep that open.
Yes, that's going to be kept open. I
Alright.
thought you were talking about the Richmond Avenue side, which is the west side.
No, but that must stay open.
Yes.
Okay. Now, with this car wash, did anybody take into consideration the neighbors with noise?
Well, everybody behind it is, first of all, it's inside, and second of all, everybody behind it is industrial.
Okay, just wanna make
Yeah,
sure. You don't
so
want no
it's,
complaints.
It's basic, I wouldn't call it a full car wash. It's basically to prep the cars for the new cars that come in and go out. So when you get your car, you know, they clean it off and get all the dust off of it. So
So that's new? That's new to the application?
yes, it's inside. And it's, you know, and it,
All right, Mr. Chairman, I got no further questions.
Any other questions from the board?
So the car wash is just for the dealership cars? That's
only
it?
for the dealership.
I can't go?
That's it. You can't
Not like a
go.
real car
No.
wash.
I have a Subaru and I can't go.
Yeah.
For the record, can we make an amendment to the location now that North Richmond is no longer, we're not gonna use that as a description for the location, so make an amendment for that on the planning memo?
Where you see that?
On the top right, the location. Just for clarity, so it's right on
Just to remove Richmond Avenue from the location?
yeah, change it to the south side of Sunrise Highway.
All All right, so I'd like to amend this application to read location south of Sunrise Highway, no longer Richmond.
North of Richmond?
Yeah, no, north of North Queens.
Oh, north of North Queens, okay.
Second.
Thank you.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Would anybody like to be heard on this application? I don't think I did say that.
That's just for the amendment.
Thank you very much.
For the record, they're on.
We still got to approve.
Oh, we still got to approve it, yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve application 22-247 for the period of 5 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Were you imposing the recommended condition, 3 to 5? The fire access lane?
Well, going to be kept open, yeah. Right? Yeah, so you would, okay, so we'll make a motion to make that, a condition on the decision to keep the fire lane open. Okay, so next application is, or applications are 22-254 and 22-555, correct?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. With the board's approval, I'd like to present both applications together as it's common ownership and issues.
Okay. All right, and I need your name and address for the record.
Jaron Fernan, Light and Russell, 212 Higbee Lane, West Islip, New York, 11795.
Okay, and you affirm to tell the truth?
Yes.
For the record, we have a planning division memo dated March 23rd, 2023, on application 22-254, and the same on, no, it's not. One photograph, environmental control memo dated March 27th, 2023. Application was originally scheduled to be heard February 16th. That's what that is. A fire marshal's report dated February 16th, 2023. Fire permit prevention is required. Existing fire alarm to be integrated into the proposed exterior renovation. You have a copy of that? Have you gotten a copy of that fire marshal's report?
The one from February? I think
Yes.
it's February 8th.
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right, and that's on the first application. On the second application, 22-255, dated March 22nd, 2023. I think we have the same information as far as a photograph, environmental control memo, and fire marshal's report. We also have tax map acting as an area map. This is a site plan by Thomas Walsh, last dated February 17th, 2023. We have that on both applications, the same information. Okay. Would you like to tell us about the application?
Mr. Chairman, we
Yes,
have 8
thank you, Mr.
photographs.
Oh, I'm sorry. 8 photographs. Go ahead. What would you like to tell us?
Both applications are seeking permission for a special exception to operate and maintain an automobile sales showroom for handicapped accessible vehicles and to operate a public garage for the customization and service of these handicapped accessible vehicles. In both instances, and as part of these applications, the applicant is seeking off-street parking variant relaxations. And before we get into the particulars, I'd like to have a few moments to describe the properties involved. Both parcels are owned by Lambeth Realty, and both parcels are leased in part by WMK LLC, doing business as Mobility Works. These leases are long-term, and the properties are zoned Industry GA. For intents and purposes, both lots conform to the requirements designated in the GA zone or light industry. More particularly, both lots have a lot area of at least 40,000 square feet, maintain 100 feet of street frontage, maintain a 30-foot front setback, adequate side yards, and proper floor area ratio. Both parcels have a valid certificate of occupancy. There are no open or expected violations issued, outstanding, or contemplated. In general, these buildings and premises in the GA district may be used for any purpose or use permitted in the GA Industrial District and E-Business District, which includes public garages and the sales, storage, display, and service of new and used automobiles or automotive equipment, but only by special exception of this board and subject to conditions, restrictions, and such reasonable safeguards as may be imposed by this board. By way of background, Mobility Works is a national company that converts vans and SUVs into wheelchair accessible vehicles to provide wheelchair users with vehicle mobility and independence. Their proposed showroom and garage will not garner a lot of pedestrian traffic, as it functions as a predetermined destination for their customers, as opposed to a customary car dealership where people randomly walk in off the street. In fact, the business anticipates keeping 3 to 4 vehicles inside its showroom and merely selling around 100 vehicles per year. As for the garage, there is a need for the company to convert and repair vehicles. However, Mobility Works aims to ensure its customers can only have routine maintenance such as oil changes done on site so that their customers can enjoy less trips in one single mechanic. Their overall goal is convenience and independence for a very specific customer base. As for my client's request for special exception permits, the prior tenant at 80 Jeffrin Boulevard actually used the space as a public garage. Additionally, this board has granted similar applications on the same street, specifically at 6779 East Jeffrin. A portion of the existing building is used as a public garage for truck repairs, and this special exception was also renewed for an additional 3 years. Further, and also on the same block, there's a huge John Deere dealership that operates as a public garage and sales showroom. That lot specifically is loaded with farm equipment, and said equipment is repaired and sold on the premises. And lastly, less than 1 mile away at Burt Drive, this board granted a special exception permit to conduct an auto body, auto repair shop, and sale of used cars. Addressing some of the planning committee's concerns, neither dismantled vehicles nor automobile parts will ever be stored in the open or visible from the street. Repairs will exclusively take place within the confines of the repair facility. Our outdoor storage request for the sale is not for the sale or showcase of vehicles. Instead, the space will be for customers at the service shop at 90 Jeffrin, and we do not foresee the need for every space given the volume or lack thereof anticipated at the shop. However, these are requested as a safeguard. For 80 Jeffrin, the spots will only be used if there is a need outside the showroom to showcase the functionality of the cars for sale. 6 spots were requested for these vehicles because often more than one space is required to function with these vehicles, given the ramps and other alterations that are made. Any vehicles for sale that were observed on March 23rd during the drive-by, they were only there because the showroom has not yet been constructed. That will not be the practice moving forward once the showroom is constructed. We recognize that the Planning Committee has some concerns with parking, and that same Burt Drive application that I mentioned was granted an 88% parking relaxation, specifically from 57 spaces down to 7. And given our current application, it's a request for 43% and 61% relaxations respectively, and that makes our application in line with prior grants by this board and the character and nature of the neighborhood. Further, these numbers I provide are based off 32 parking spaces and do not include the 6 outdoor storage spaces on each premises. I would respectfully request the board to consider that the outdoor storage spaces, as they often will remain unused, will result in actual parking relaxation of 56 to 38 on 90 Jeffrin, or a 32% relaxation, and 75 to 35 on 80 Jeffrin, or a 53% relaxation. When factoring these relaxations, it should also be considered the nature of the other tenants' businesses within the building. Co-tenant Pyramid occupies the other 3 spaces in 90 Jeffrin, as well as 2 spaces in 80 Jeffrin. Pyramid operates an air conditioning business that services off-site customers who do not visit their business on-site. Accordingly, the designated parking spaces, 47 parking spaces, is not fully needed by Pyramid, and granting my client's relaxation will not be to the detriment of that tenant. Similarly, Iberel, which is an 80 Jeffrin occupying 1 space, is an electronics broker, and their customers rarely, if ever, come on site. The only other tenant at 80 Jeffrin is Sunshine Environmental, which is an industrial hygiene and environmental consultant, which does not have any customers travel on site, and therefore these tenants require minimal parking and have no objection or opposition to our application. Overall, this is a company with a stellar reputation operating a benevolent purpose for wheelchair users in the community, It is also understood that these types of exceptions are renewable, giving the board an opportunity to address any concerns that may arise in the future. I thank you very much for your time and consideration, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. So, this is not like a retail site, right? People are buying cars at a dealership, I'm assuming, and then going to you to have them fitted properly?
That's one way of doing it. So they can take cars and bring them in to be fitted custom, or they do have vehicles that they've already fitted that are in the showroom. But again, that would be 3 to 4 in that showroom. Yes. And it's been explained by the owners that people don't really come in off the street, and there's not a lot of, you know.
Yeah, this is not a retail business
Exactly.
per se. I mean, this is a specific use that, you know, would
Yes.
be needed for people.
Yep.
Okay. So you've answered the question about dismantled vehicles and, you know, well, that, everything's going to be inside, nothing's going to be outside.
Yes.
Are you, like, selling vehicles there, or is it,
Yes.
you are?
Yes, at the 80 Jeffrin showroom.
Okay. So people could come there and buy a vehicle that you have on site,
Yes, correct.
and it's already fitted? I guess they buy it according to their needs.
Correct. And that's why also there are custom fittings that go on next door in the shop, because there are different needs for different customers.
How many employees are you going to have?
If you don't mind, I'll turn over to Bill.
Sure. You gotta, wait, you gotta come up
Yeah.
and be sworn in and stuff. Need your name and address for the record, please.
William Jenkins, 1788 Wisteria Circle, Bellport, New York.
Okay, and do you agree to provide true access?
I apologize.
Yeah. I'm lost. Do you affirm to tell the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What would you like to tell us?
I would say
Question.
on average 8 to 10 employees is probably our max. Currently, we have a staff of 7.
7?
Yeah.
Okay, and what's the hours of operation?
8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, Saturday by appointment only, and that's it.
No Sundays?
No.
Okay, I think you've answered all of our other questions on the planning memo. Would you agree?
So, you might have said this before, I'll ask again. Outdoor storage, there's nothing outside, or you do store outside?
So I'll break down each property. With 90, that is actually for customers coming into the repair shop. So if they're getting, you know, if there's another vehicle there, they can park outside. If it's overloaded, because they're going to have 3 to 4 bays inside, they could have vehicles waiting on the outside, but we don't anticipate those spots.
Overnight?
Would that be overnight?
Potentially, but I would say less than 5% of the time.
Okay.
We are requesting 6 vehicles for outdoor storage per site.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, would you agree to file the standard CNRs for garage?
Yes.
All right. Any other questions from the board? On both applications, right. Any other questions from the board? Would anyone like to be heard on this application? For the record, there are none. Okay. Wanna hold it?
Can we just have your, fill out a form with your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, no problem.
Okay, we're going to close the hearing. We're going to reserve decision. You'll get the decision in the mail. Thanks for coming down tonight.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
That's it. Next application is application 23026 of Gale Grace Manor North, property located in Copeg. Name and address for the record, please.
For the applicant, my name is Mark Garabrandt. I'm with the law firm of Donahue, Kretz and Garabrandt, 692 South Wellwood Avenue in Lindenhurst. Good evening.
For the record, we have a Planning Division memo dated March 23rd, 2023. A prior approval, case 08321. There were covenants and restrictions based upon the, yeah, okay. Based upon the plan submitted, and there was covenant and restrictions on that. There is, I guess it's a building permit dated March 19, 2012. Property, please. So, and this was voided and was not built, according to this letter from the Planning Department. Environmental control memo dated March 28, 2023. If approved, this application will not result in significant impact. A survey by Michael Scalise, last dated September 3rd, 2020. A second survey also dated, dated August 8, 2018, also by Michael Scalise, tax map acting as an area map. And,
Mr. Chairman, we have 5 photographs.
okay. What would you like to tell us about the application?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. Again, I represent the applicant in this case, who is Mitch Giannini of 515 Jackson Avenue, LLC, which is, and his premises, the Gale Grace Manor North, which is located on the northeast corner of 41st Street and New Highway, for which a certificate of occupancy was issued as recently as November 16th of 2022. I believe that the planning memo very succinctly states why we're here tonight. Back in 2009, a parcel, Suffolk County Tax Map number 100-201-125 was a 50 by 100 foot lot for which a variance application was granted by this board for the construction of a one-family dwelling, which had the normal covenants and restrictions imposed with respect to the one-family dwelling, that it be owner-occupied, that there be not any rental, the usual covenants that you may very well see with a substandard lot. Those covenants and restrictions were filed. The building permit was obtained, but it was never moved upon, and it was closed out, as was indicated by Tim Bessemer. Moving ahead to 2018-19, my client appeared before this board, the planning board, and the town board in connection with the development of Gale Grace Manor North. There was a change of zoning to a senior citizen, multiple residents, and there were some area variances which were granted by this board. And there were covenants and restrictions which were imposed by planning and the town board in connection with the development of that parcel and the construction of 10 two-bedroom apartments for senior citizen use. Unfortunately, at that time, an application was not made to remove the covenants and restrictions which had been imposed back in 2009 and recorded, which had everything to do with the one family and had nothing to do whatsoever with the multi-residence. And this only, unfortunately, recently came to light. As I indicated, Mr. Giannini obtained his certificate of occupancy for the premises in November. That being had, he was then able to be in a position to try to refinance the overall parcel, which includes several tax lots. The old tax lot 24, as I indicated, 22, 23, 25, and a portion of 41st Street. Unfortunately, during the title search, the old covenants restrictions came up, and the lender is unwilling, and title company is backing them, saying we can't grant any loan application on this until these covenants and restrictions are removed. And if I may quote the planning memo on the very last line of the first page, the covenants and restrictions in connection to the single-family dwelling are no longer relevant to the approved senior citizen complex. I must say that when we learned of the situation with these covenants and restrictions, we made application to the board, and I appreciate everything that the town did in getting it on tonight's agenda. I know Mr. Giannini has a number of concerns, one of which is that time is ticking in connection with his refinancing. He can't get a closing date without these covenants and restrictions being removed. And it was our hope that, given the nature of the application and given what the planning comments were, that the prior covenants and restrictions are no longer relevant. We were hoping that the board would vote on this tonight, most favorably, I might add. Thank you.
Thank you. Turn the hearing over to Mr. Dellavecchia.
So this is just to lift the previous covenants and restrictions from 2009?
Yes.
And you guys never built the
No.
family, just held
No.
it for 10 years and decided to go with the multi-residence?
Yes. He didn't own it back then either, so.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Any other questions from the board? Would anyone like to be heard on this application?
Yes.
Okay, come on up.
My name's Leo Lassiter. It's my wife, Glenda Lassiter.
Need your name?
Are we
Okay.
talking, I
Wait,
just want to
I
be
need-
sure on this. My
hold on,
hearing is
one-
not too good, but want to be sure on this. Is
Your address.
Your address, I need your address.
491 41st Street, Copiague, New York.
Okay, and your name again?
Leo and Glenda Lassiter.
Okay, and you both affirm to tell the truth?
Yes,
Okay. Go ahead.
he's hard of hearing. Take your mask
Go ahead.
Yeah, I can hear.
Maybe pull it down so you can speak. I hear you better.
Take your mask off and get over here. The problem is, this complex just moved in the last few years. We've been there 40 years. I have pictures of showing you that it's so close. There's nothing else can go there. It's supposed to be no commercial driving. Every time the sign go up, they take it down. Here lately, I've been sickly, so I had not been down to town hall. I used to come down to complain about everything that affects 41st Street. It's only 2 houses on that street. No, no. On 41st and Copiague, near this lot that they have the apartments on. It's just 2. One is 493 and 491. We are 491. There is no space to put anything else there. I understand when I first got it, they said no commercial will be across from me, but that turned out to be not true. They had commercial across, but they also had signs there saying no driving through. But now, that's all that comes through, big trucks. And every time we go down, the sign be put up, and then it's taken down. So I have a problem with them adding anything into that space. They have commercials that come and park directly, not beside, but directly in front of our mailbox to still on my property. And just stay there. I take pictures. I do have ADT, and I have all the cameras and everything, so I see them parking there. We are not, hardly can come out of our yard because the cars are coming around that curve, and when they come out of this property, they come straight down 41st. The other cars come around the curve onto 41st to go out to New Highway. It's constant all night long, all day. So I have objections to them building anything there more.
Anything else?
He said he was.
Just bear with me a little bit. We've been in this house since 1976 on 41st Street, down that street all the way to Great Neck Road that was only about 4 houses. You put in New Highway, that was all wooded area. You got Zahn Complex down there, we couldn't stop that. We asked you to not allow a car lot to come up to where this guy, Leo, my name is Leo, but he had this tree thing on the corner right across, well, I just say it's south of my house. I'm on the corner of New Highway, which is always jungle, wooded. Now, he's just sold this property, and they bought on the corner another tree company, they're gonna expand. Now, you're trying to run us out of there. That senior citizen minor come in there, 2 people come down here to complain about nothing happened. The man asked me, is it bothering you? Sure. I tell you what I said, you damn right it's bothering me. But what can I do? All these years, 76, I had this house built. The man didn't give me prime area, didn't show me prime area. He showed me that area. I didn't have a problem with it. I lived there. But we don't get the satisfaction of being there. When a business come here and talk to you all, this board, and I'm not saying individual, because I'm talking about from 76, you just about pass anything that, it destroys us. Now you put this minor there, 2 blocks west of Straight Path, right? You named it Lindenhurst. But the 2 houses 200 feet from it, I'm Copay. I believe, I might be wrong, I believe it hurts me when I get to pay my homeowner taxes. All these factors around that were supposed to help us lessen our homeowners' tax, it doesn't. You give it to them. They get the least amount of taxes than homeowner. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I said I'm going to tell my wife, Mr. Schaefer been on this board a long time. Look like everything since he been here passes. And I don't mean no harm against him, but it's just wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. It's wrong. I'm getting a call. They want this house so bad. I get a call every week. Well, I want to discuss buying your house. I don't want to sell my house. I'm not going anywhere. But I don't want to get so aggravated about being able to stay there and relax. I tell you, no joke, 76 July, I come into that house, and it was built. I did. And it hurts that you sit there and say, all right, they come in here, the lawyers, and they talk you and smooth me, and then I don't know what y'all do, but I do know it's wrong. I had my peace. Thank you. Would anyone else like to be heard on this application? For the record, there are none.
Would you be willing to talk to the gentleman after the meeting to let him know that you guys are not building anything further?
Absolutely. We have no intentions of building.
No, you got to talk to us.
This has nothing to do with any new construction on those premises.
Hello? You got to talk to us.
Yes.
But please talk to them at the end of the meeting, or when this application is over.
Okay, well, the next one too, so. But I'll be glad to speak with them, absolutely. But
Thank
I
you.
don't think it has any, like I said, we're just looking to remove covenants and
Yep.
restrictions.
They're your neighbors, that's all.
Perfectly understand, and I talked to Mitch Giannini, and he said that we don't have commercial vehicles, we're not parking there. I know that they come in off of Liberty or New Highway, and it's, both are gated.
Yeah, because vehicles cannot pass through the lot, correct? There's double gate on each side?
Yeah, there's a double gate, so it's, yeah.
Okay.
I tried to do it the other day. I wanted to check out the situation.
What they're complaining, can I just talk
Yeah.
Name and address for the record, please.
Mitch Giannini, 515 Jackson Avenue.
Affirm to tell the truth?
Yes. What my neighbors are complaining about, the people are cutting through Liberty and going up to 41st Street to go to New Highway, right in front of his house. So it's Ralph Avenue, coming down, heading north on Liberty, not stopping at that stop sign on Liberty and 41st Street, making a left on 41st, and cutting through onto New Highway. All the commercial trucks.
Are there signs there about no commercial vehicles, or?
I don't know. That,
Them down. Every time they put them up, I come down to the town, they put them back up, and next thing you know, they're down.
They don't respect that area. They don't.
it's
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
the local traffic.
Okay. I think
Okay.
I understand it better now, anyway.
All right.
All right, we're going to close the hearing, we're going to reserve decision. You'll get the decision in the mail. Thanks for coming
Tell
down.
them that DPW will address that sign problem.
Yeah, DPW will address the sign problem for you, and if it's not up, okay? We're going to have, there's somebody here that's going to make sure that gets taken care of. All right? Thank you.
But it is necessary to reserve the decision.
Yes. You on that? You do signs? Okay.
Yeah.
It's Liberty in general.
Yeah, right. I'm going to read that in.
Should only be one on our mouth.
Okay, the next application is application 22-216 of Angela Holdings, Inc., property located in Copeg. Okay, before we begin, I'm just going to read something into the record. The record has remained open since the application was heard on December 15, 2022. Accordingly, all items read into the record at that time are considered before the board now. The purpose of this hearing is to allow the applicant to amend variance number 1 and to allow their appraiser to present testimony regarding the requested use variances in a public forum. So anything on this application tonight will be based on that latter of the public forum for the appraisal. Okay, name and address for the record.
Yes, Mark Garabrandt, the law firm of Donahue, Critz & Garabrandt, 692 South Wellwood Avenue, Lindenhurst, New York.
Okay, so all of those things that we have now are all of the things that were read into the record when that hearing was previously held in December of '22. So what would you like? So you're going to, tonight, address variance number 1 that's being changed and the appraiser's testimony.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Again, for the applicant, Angela Holdings, Inc., and JJM Real Estate Management Corp., Caravana Tabasco was here this evening. With respect to the variance application, the area variance application, we heeded the board's comments, and we removed the column from the plans, which was located on the northwest side of the proposed dwelling, and we have submitted under cover of letter, I believe it was January 12th of 2023, 2023, I should say, we submitted the revised plans. So I think the variance, it shows that it's 8 feet. We now have the 7 feet along the front on Merrick Road, so instead of, we're looking for a 3-foot variance, and that would be consistent, obviously, with Anna's other building, the real estate office as well.
Okay.
All right. Well, at this point, what I'd like to do is introduce Barry Nelson. Mr. Nelson is with Nelson Realty Group, Inc. He's the principal of that company. He's a licensed appraiser. He has prepared an appraisal dated February 23rd, 2023. Actually, it's an economic consultant report in connection with the necessary criteria that has to be established to show unnecessary hardship, which would qualify us for use variance. I'll allow you to hear from him about his credentials, but what I wish to point out is that he has been testifying for almost 40 years or appearing before zoning boards, planning boards throughout Long Island, Suffolk County, Nassau County, the villages, and more importantly, he's been qualified as an expert witness in both Nassau and Suffolk County Supreme Courts and District Court, as well as the Federal Bankruptcy Court, for the purposes of valuations, character of neighborhoods, and developments, et cetera. So I can introduce him at this point, and I'll let him take it from here.
Name and address for the record, please.
It's Barry Nelson, 220 Pettit Avenue, Belmore, New York, 11710. Good evening, Chairman, members of the board.
You affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Okay. Go.
The applicant retained my services. As counsel mentioned, I am a real estate appraiser. I am a certified general New York State licensed appraiser, as well as a real estate broker. I've been specializing in similar matters like tonight. I've testified just about before every board, town board, city and Nassau County, village boards, and many in Suffolk County. With specific to this application, I was retained early in January. I went out and investigated the subject property, the area. I looked at developments. I've testified before this board in the past on similar matters as well. And I prepared the report. I believe you should have a copy of it. It's dated February 23rd, 2023. That report includes, I think, 15 pages, 8 pages of written analysis included. You don't have a copy of the reports?
Okay. It has been submitted, okay.
So the subject property is a unique parcel. And you see it's on the screen behind you. It includes 4 tax lots. It's the southeast corner of Montauk Highway. I also refer to as Merrick Road, Dogs Promenade, and it runs to the West Alhambra Avenue. The only improvements would be on the easterly side, or on the easterly parcel on the north side of West Alhambra Avenue. That's a modest 2-family dwelling. It's on a 40 by 100, 4,000 square feet. The property is split zoned. Generally, if we just work from the corner of Dogs Promenade and West Alhambra, it's 80 feet wide, and that runs northerly to Montauk Highway of approximately 196.65 feet. There is a notch out off the corner at Montauk Highway and Dogs Promenade. The entire parcel, or the assemblage of 4 tax lots, is 15,543 square feet. The zoning would be e-business for approximately 150 feet from Montauk Highway south, with the southerly portion being within the residential C district. That area is approximately 46.5 feet, 46.65 feet in depth and a width of 80 feet. It's less than 4,000 square feet. To be exact, it's around 3,732 square feet. The rest of that parcel is 11,811 square feet. That would be for the 3 tax lots, the 2 tax lots on Montauk Highway and what would be known as 156 West Alhambra. For the applicant to develop the property or the 3 tax lots, it'd be almost impossible to develop the 3 tax lots without incorporating 154 West Alhambra. The E-zone requires a minimum of 10,000 square feet, while that parcel would be, with the 3 tax lots, 11,811 square feet. The big demand would be to provide adequate on-site parking. You would want to put the commercial development to the north, where it fronts onto Montauk Highway, and parking, as the applicant has shown, off of Dogs Promenade. So, with that said, in my analysis, I used a 4,000 square foot retail use. That 4,000 square foot retail would require a small parking variance based on retail at 1 for 200 square feet. Actually, it would only allow, if you complied with parking, it's almost impossible to develop the site without that 4th parcel. So the applicant is taking that 4th parcel, eliminating the house, and now has a decent-sized parcel to support a 4,000 square foot retail business, because if you go to medical or professional or a professional use, the parking is now more, is a greater demand at 1 for 150 square feet, so they wouldn't be able to provide the 16 plus parking spaces for a 4,000 square foot medical or professional building, because you need parking 1 for 150 square feet plus 1 for each employee. It's almost impossible to develop the property. It's unique, it's shaped, it's on 3 frontages, and it's almost impossible just to develop it with the 3 properties. So we get into the development of my analysis, and what I did is I figured a 4,000 square foot retail building at that location. I looked at rentals in the area, and I considered the construction of the 4,000 square feet. I used the original acquisition numbers for the 3 tax lots under 1. I think they paid approximately $60,000 many years ago, 2004, I think it was. And the 2-family at $277,000. So that would give me the basis for land value for the 4 tax lots. And that's about, with closing costs and everything, $350,000. That's a very conservative number for 15,000 square feet of land. Nevertheless, to construct a 4,000 square foot building, and that development would also require similar variances in that you'd be using part of the residential portion, as you are today in its current application. You'd need some front yard setback, it's split zoned, and you'd need a small parking variance. I would assume, considering the development, that would be a reasonable request. Anything smaller doesn't even make sense at that location. 4,000 square feet is a pretty good building, reasonable for a development. 4,000 square feet at $200 to construct, $800,000 for the building, site improvements, landscaping, et cetera, $90,000, and that would include repairing the sidewalks, landscaping, drainage, paving, and so on. Some low lighting on the site. Those numbers, 800,000 for construction of a building, 90,000 for site improvements, 25,000 for demo and cleanup, site preparation, ready for construction, and add back in the land value, $350,000, would indicate a total cost to the 4,000 square foot development, retail stores of $1,265,000. That would be your cost basis for the development. I went out and looked at comparables for lease data, and generally, rental space is anywhere from $21 to $33 per square foot. The higher end would be in more of a established retail shopping center type of development with an anchor store. I accepted at $29.50 per square foot, which is a very fair, reasonable number in today's market for retail. I developed the analysis for the maintaining of the building, real estate taxes, insurance, year-round maintenance for the site as far as snow removal, landscaping, maintaining of the property, some minimal expenses to legal and accounting, which I'd like to get my accountant to charge me only $2,500, but nevertheless, and miscellaneous at $1,000. Gross income would be $118,000. Vacancy and rent loss is in there, brings it down to approximately $109,150 for a effective gross income. Total expenses of approximately $51,000. So the net operating income on that development is $58,150 on an investment of $1,265,000. The net operating income divided by the cash investment yields a 4.6 return on an all-cash investment. 4.6, we can put that in treasuries today and get that same number without any risk. The continuation, I'd like to take my money out of that development, and all investors, commercial investors, take a good part of their money out by refinancing their investment. Commercial these days is not as beneficial as far as getting a higher loan-to-value ratio. That's because of the risk involved. I used which typically you could get from a bank, 60% of your investment, which would be a mortgage of approximately $760,000 on a retail development, as I just illustrated upon. That would require a debt service, paying the mortgage itself, of approximately $51,300 a month, a year, annually. That's about $6,850 a month for your mortgage payment. Leaving, and that would be at a 6.75% interest-only rate. That said, the applicant still, or the developer would still have over $500,000 invested of their own money. That $500,000 and what I had indicated earlier, a net operating income of $58,150, the mortgage at $760,000, 6.75 interest rate, would require $51,300 of that $58,150, leaving $6,850 of your net operating income to your cash investment of over $500,000, to be exact, $505,000. That would yield a rate of return on your money of 1.36%. One of the reasons why you don't see much commercial development, retail on these smaller type parcels. They just don't yield enough. To go back, you'd need at least $40 a square foot to come up with a more realistic rate of return. That would compete against a good part of Montauk Highway, Merrick Road, from just about the Nassau-Suffolk line right out to east, and you can get $20, $25 square foot leases per square foot leases along that corridor. Now, the applicant is proposing 8 one-bedroom apartment in a building that would have what I used as the retail 4,000 square feet. It would have approximately 3,900 plus or minus square feet footprint, 2 stories, 8 one-bedroom apartments. Construction, and that would be for the 2 stories, 7,850 square feet gross building area. Of course, I bumped up the price per square foot to build. Retail, $200 for an apartment because of the bathrooms, the higher end of quality interior finishes, $250 a square foot, which would cost the applicant or the developer $1,962,500. I used a similar number, same numbers. I bumped up the site improvements where the previous in the retail at $90,000. This is at $100,000. We're going to have more landscaping to mitigate any impacts to the residential, dress up the property, and so on. So adding back the demo cost and the land value, the same value at $350,000, you'd have a total investment of $2,437,500. All of this is, excuse me, all of this is in the report, and I'm just bringing out the highlights. The applicant would be able to rent the apartments, 1 bedrooms, and they're decent-sized apartments for 1 bedrooms, 800 plus to 900 plus square feet on each unit. Nice apartments. 6 of them, 75% at $2,700 per month on the 1 bedrooms, and a lower housing rate for 2 of the units, 25% at $2,000 each. That would yield a potential gross income of $242,400. Take out the vacancy, which would net an effective gross of $230,300. I considered real estate taxes, like I did in the retail, insurance, year-round maintenance, legal and accounting. I added in refuse and some miscellaneous. Total expenses would be around $60,000 annual, which would leave a net operating income of $170,300. On an all-cash investment of the $2,437,500 would yield almost 7% return on your money, 6.98%. Financing on multifamily residential is substantially beneficial to applicants, but I utilized a 70% loan to value, which would be about $1,706,000 at the same interest rate of 6.75%, which would cost the applicant a debt service for annual of $115,120, which would leave approximately $55,180 for the equity position of the investment. The mortgage is satisfied, paid annually. The applicant would have approximately $731,000 plus which would yield a 7.55% return on their money, a substantially less risky, beneficial development for the subject site. The market throughout Nassau and Suffolk County, and I've testified on many of these. I've finished some in Freeport just recently, in the town of Hempstead, in Oyster Bay. Demand for apartments is strong. Income is good. That would yield a substantial difference in reasonable return to investment. That is the crux of my report. If the board has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. Thank you.
I guess a few. What did you say the average rent was for the one bedrooms, between 2,600 and 2,000?
I'm using 2,700 for 6 apartments, and 2 of them at an affordable 2,000 each.
Each?
Each, yes.
I mean, I just looked now and I see the most expensive apartment in Copac at 2,000.
Oh, no. Right across the street, which you have the northwest corner, you have them listing them anywhere from 2,600 to 3,300. And I'll give you a list of the ones that I looked at.
Is that what they're getting for 'em, or is that what they're asking for 'em?
That's what they're getting for them. And in fact,
There's vacancy?
I don't want to say the earlier applicant, I've looked at his developments along Montauk Highway, and he's getting anywhere from $2,650 to $3,300 for a one-bedroom. You get a little bit lower if you have a mixed use where you have commercial on the first floor and apartments on the second floor, but this is an entire residential development, all apartments. You have, in fact, some of them I pulled out on Jackson Avenue in Lindenhurst, 515 at $2,700 for one bedrooms. You have, let me see if I got more. Actually, just to go back a moment, for the retail, number 1200 Montauk Highway, just recently sold. There was a, just to the west of the subject property, west of Dogs Promenade. That building sold for $500,000. It's got about 1,750 square feet. It was a renovated building. That building sold for $285 a square foot. My analysis shows that our construction with original cost for the land to be over $315 a square foot.
Is that
Doesn't make-
residential or commercial?
1200 Montauk Highway is a commercial building, retail, 1,750 square feet, sold for $500,000, was on the market 753 days. Let me just go back to,
Just to make sure we're comparing apples and apples, that's all.
oh, absolutely, I understand. So,
There's other ones across on the northwest corner, you said we're going for what, one-bedroom apartments there?
that's the Pinello, and they're not all on the market right now. I think he's still building them, but he was asking, let me just see, I think he was starting at $2,650. I got a lot of papers here. Absolutely. Unit B5, one bedroom, one bath, about 1,000 square feet, $2,750 per month. I looked at in Broadway, in Amityville, smaller units starting at 2,300. Similar sized units were between $2,600 and $2,800 a month.
Thank you.
Excuse me one
Thank
second,
you.
if I may.
Sure. you- Certainly. I do have a summary of my report, and it would be page 7 of 8. And again, as I originally spoke, the subject property is unique. It's split zoned, has 3 frontages. While the applicant is proposing a use that's contrary to the zoning district that it's situated in, this approval has been granted in many other locations on Montauk Highway and throughout the town. What we have at the northwest corner, in which I just identified as for rents, is a similar development on a slightly larger parcel. You have, and you can see from the photographs, the use of the residential portion of the district has been approved for parking, and it's almost got the mirror development on the mirror image of what's on the development just to the west. The retail stores are up front. The parking is in the southerly portion of the property. It runs up from West Alhambra Avenue to the building itself. Its only access would be off of Dog's Promenade. Similar to what the applicant is proposing, except the applicant is proposing substantial landscaping to the south on the front of the north side of West Alhambra, and to the east where there is a single-family homes as we continue east on Alhambra. Again, it's a risky, almost a nil-type development for retail. Professional services, medical would not lend itself for a development at this location because of its small size. I've gone over each and every use within the section of the town code 213-129 permitted uses. It's my opinion that it does not lend itself for any of those type of uses. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone like to be heard on this application? Name and
evening.
address for the record.
Hi, my name is Colleen McCarthy, 39 Miramar Boulevard, Lindenhurst, New York. Just right around the corner from the property.
Do you affirm to tell the truth?
I certainly do.
Would you like to
My concern is you're encroaching in on the residential area, and we already have across the street, your map is outdated, but 32 units went across the street. They want to do a retail as he's proposing, showing you for the parking for the place next door. That's a retail store. It's closed at night. There's no issues with parking. The apartment complex across the street, they're not all rented yet, agreed. They're still under construction, but the ones that have been there, they're not 100% rented. I mean, what you're doing to Copac and Lindenhurst with all these apartment buildings, it's getting to be too much. You're pushing out our homes, and you're making it, downtown Queens. And, I'm waiting for Lefrak City to start. That's not what this area was built for. You have to keep it in line with what's been here, modernize it, do everything. You've already put in enough apartments. Everywhere you look, that's all that's coming in. And it's going to encroach on us as the taxpayers. It's just becoming too much. So if he wants to put in retail stores, that's fine. But 8 units and going into the residential area, that's not fair. And I hope that, more and more people come out to these meetings and start putting the brakes on everything. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Let her go first. All right.
Do you want to go ahead?
I have numbers of how many apartments are actually in a small distance.
Okay.
Hi.
Name and address for the
Michelle
record.
again. Michelle from the American Venice Civic Association. I'm here representing us and some folks. I just want to...
I need an address.
Oh, yes, that's right. I thought you would know it by heart by now. It's 94 Venetian Prom in Lindenhurst.
Last name as well?
Excuse me?
Last name?
Insinger.
Do you affirm to tell the truth?
Oh, you know this.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, go.
Interestingly enough, because he's bringing up, before I even, my prepared statement, that he's bringing up the unusualness of the property, this is also very true. However, if you go the next block over to exactly Miramar, there is also another very unusual property that we use as the Civic, that the town has granted to us, along as New York State also has. We are now officially, you see how odd that piece of property is too? On that corner? The one on the bottom piece, which was also Alhambra, that is privately owned. We are, as of this particular season coming up, New York State has given us their official approval for a true farmer's market because they are dying in Long Island. We don't have that many left. But as you can see, our Civic has learned to do something with the property that actually serves the community. That private piece of property, as I said, is private and is lent to us by the owner to do this. We've been doing this is our 4th year now. We created jobs for small businesses, and we've kept them in business even on the off market. They still manage to do business and they come back. So my point to that is there is use for property. There is. Anyway, also, my other concern is with the treasury that he was bringing up with all his numbers and things like that. Yeah, you wouldn't want to be in a treasury bond right about now because you're losing a hell of a lot of money. We had 3 banks just collapse over that. So, also, I'm a little surprised that you guys don't seem to be aware that that's exactly what these apartments are going for. $2,700, $3,000. It's setting market rate. Something when the TriTech project in the Village went up, we said would exactly set market rate, and it has. My mother and my brother live in the Harbor Club, which is West Babylon. It's a beautiful property. They don't even pay that much. They're $200 below market rate with an Olympic-sized pool, a lagoon, and a golf course, and a marina. So, and they're in a 2-bedroom, by the way, not a 1. So there's the difference there, and I am very concerned that you guys don't even realize that that's how expensive apartments are that are going up. That's concerning to me, because we've been fighting for affordable housing for a very long time now. But there is not enough of it. Anyway, I'd like to first start with addressing the board regarding the January 5th meeting that I had saw on a few things that were said, which, again, there was some things said that I felt was an attempt to justify passing this.
So let me go back to what I said in the beginning.
Okay.
This is strictly for what was presented tonight, not what was presented in the past.
Okay, well, I didn't know what was going to be presented tonight because I didn't find out until we just got here. So, but it is in regards to the flooding issue, because any way you look at it, this is still an AE zone. The house itself is the only property that's the X zone. You want to put a parking lot where it's an X zone, but you want to put housing where it's an AE zone. That makes a lot of sense, like across the street. So that is concerning, and that flooding that did happen on December 23rd, which I did bring up on that day, that is now has a, I know, I'm sorry, but I
Well,
didn't.
I'm telling you what we're here for, and
All right,
we're
but I
still-
just want to say it's very
You
concerning.
did bring that up. We heard that the last time, and we need to talk about what was presented tonight, and that's what this hearing is for.
Okay, fine. Well, it was mentioned about regarding financial hardship. That was mentioned here. The property's been vacant for decades. I believe that was also brought up then. The hardship seems to be more in developing it than not at this time. It's been empty for decades and decades, and the house has been there since at least the 50s. This also leads to the possibility of the financial hardship to the neighboring homeowners who are here, now affected by having a parking lot in their residential zone next to them, probably devaluing their property. I'm sure they'd like to leave that to their children as well, as we heard. Then there's a question again, which was brought up, about removing the house for this parking lot and displacing a disabled person, a caretaker, from a 2-bedroom home to now a 1-bedroom. So that's a little curious to me. Again, we reject in our Venice community removing homes for parking lots and the precedent that this sets. And it's even more alarming now with Holschel's housing compact. And now this is now much more disturbing to us, concerning, and it feels a little urgent at this point. And back in 2017, when we did have a meeting, when the town wanted to get rid of the variances altogether to allow this, when all this started, we stated this would be exactly what would happen between Holschel's housing compact and exactly what we're talking about right now. This leads to concern regarding the housing compact. The current discord over it could actually override you now. But you, at the same time, could also see clearly, that we see clearly as a state board, may not okay development in a flood zone due to public safety. So here's that come and go, because the state might not okay apartments in a flood zone. It's a public safety issue. So we just feel that that's something to be thought about. And again, we don't know where this is going to go, because they're trying to, either override our zoning, which I don't think should ever happen. I believe it's sovereignty to the town. But at the same time, I might have a better chance based on the flooding issues. Okay. My next question is very important. To this board, do you know how many complexes there are either done in some form of process, within less than 1.5 miles from Baylawn to Wellwood Avenue? Do you have any idea how many apartment complexes are there or being proposed in less than 1.5 miles on Montauk Highway? Any idea? The board is taking testimony, so you're welcome to give your testimony. Okay. It's 11. It's 11 apartment complexes between the town of Babylon and Lindenhurst Village in this very short distance. No one thinks between the town and the village that 11 complexes dominated by a few developers, which one was here tonight, and we listened to lovely Leo and his wife, that's these people's problem, same problem, is an overburden to our community whose issues clearly aren't a lack of housing in any form of apartments, but instead what has become a quality of life issue to us. It's 11 proposed or done apartment complexes in less than 1.5 miles on Montauk Highway. Would you grant, say, 11 7-Elevens in that short of a distance? I doubt it. How is this smart planning? Only one of those complexes is in fact a multi-use. That is the Del Franco property on Broadway. Another one is being planned by them on South 16th Street in Montauk, which is in the village, but across from East Riviera. They have offered that civic there multi-use. So clearly he thinks he can do it because he's already done it, looking to do it again. This is something we asked for. Even a friend of this applicant posted his beliefs that recently on Facebook.
Okay,
that we
okay, stop. We're not
Okay.
taking testimony on Facebook.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that everyone's feeling that we're at a saturation point. In this month alone, the community had to fight back the South Bay Motel Housing Plan, which I was in this room with, which would have rendered every single one of these apartments worthless. The town questioned why it should be expected to house more than 50% of the homeless here in Suffolk, and we are asking why do we have to house 11 projects on 1.5 miles that's has known issues of safety issues along our corridor. Back to the quality of life issues, the folks of Doges, it's pronounced Doges, would love to see their roller coaster road paved instead, along with other improvements, not an apartment. Since Monday alone, going back to the quality of life issues, we've uncovered some disturbing situations in our schools recently. Then on Tuesday night, my community, the Venice and the Lindenhurst Village, underwent a semi-lockdown in search for 4 armed men involved with car theft and robberies. This included helicopters with searchlights, K-9 units, Marine Bureau, undercover cops, cops with searchlights, in our yards, searching everywhere. This went on for hours while they searched for them and told us to stay in our homes.
Excuse me? What does this have to do with the appraisal?
Because it has to do with the quality of life issues.
This is about the appraisal report that was given before us.
Okay, well, I'm just bringing up what happened. I was not privy to the actual appraisal prior to this, which is maybe part of the problem with the community, because they're not. You are, but we're not. How would we know?
How'd you know to come here tonight?
I'm sorry?
How'd you know to come here tonight?
Zach, how did I know? Because one of the neighbors sent us a letter that they were having the meeting
You were
tonight.
notified. You could have called and found out what was going on tonight. You're so concerned now. Why didn't you find out about this prior?
Because I'm over here bringing up with the problems of the community. Is that a problem for us to even discuss
That's
it?
not the issue here.
All right, well, I'm sorry.
That's not this board's concern. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude, but we can do this all night, and it's not going to get you anywhere. It's not part.
All right, so it's bringing up. All right, so it's bringing up that. So let me bring this up. We're still, either way you're looking at it, you're putting in a building in a flood zone. Right now, we're dealing with FEMA increasing all the premiums of all those houses that you see around you to $4,000 and $5,000 per year at this point. And I just heard in cash, which I heard, which means it's most likely not even going to be a policy. So it's not even going into the system that our people are actually having to pay $4,000 to $5,000 full risk premiums and all those houses around there. So I'm sorry that I'm bringing that up, but we just feel like a lot of it has to do with our quality of life issues as well. I know it has nothing to do with the appraisal. I'm sorry. I wasn't prepared for that. I should have looked at that. This, I apologize, but I also have a life. So we're just concerned about putting in more apartments and taking away business opportunities, which we see Del Franco actually reaching out to the community and offering to do, and that's not happening here. So the bottom line, appraisal or not, we still have 11 apartments and a house coming down in order to put a parking lot right next to the neighborhood. So that means they're probably going to get devalued. So maybe we should get their appraisals to see how that goes for them. We're just asking that it not be rezoned, you not take down a house, and that we try to work together for the betterment and the quality of life issues in our community that we are clearly seeing and seems that no one wants to talk about. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to be heard on this application? Come on up.
Linda Sparaca, 132 Doges Promenade. I've lived there 36 years now, and I'm concerned that this is going to change.
You have to look at us.
I'm sorry. I think that this feels like it's going to change my community. I've lived there a long time. I'm worried about the property value of my house. I don't like more apartments. There's so many apartments. I realize that the person who owns the property would like to make money on the property they own. I would like the same thing. And the neighborhood is deteriorating. There's no infrastructure in place for the increase in the amount of dwellings and schools and parking, and even with the parking lot, you have a one-bedroom. I know at one point it was discussed that the apartments would be one bedroom and a den. I don't know if that changed. Are they really one bedroom or one bedroom and a den? There'll be just one bedroom. I've noticed in just being in the neighborhood and being around the school districts, there's a lot of people living in apartments because they can't afford their own apartments. So it's not that one bedroom would only have one person or maybe two people living in an apartment. There's always more people because that's just the way it appears to be in Long Island. Nobody's living alone. They can't afford the rent, even at low rent. There's just people who can't afford it. And I'm concerned with my property value and what the street is going to look like. That light on Montauk Highway and Doges Promenade, people come zipping around that light to try to make it so they don't hit the red light, with a parking lot there and more cars coming up and down that block, it's going to be a nightmare. It's a nightmare already, and we don't have that development yet. And it's going to ruin the neighborhood. Once there's apartments going there, the single-family homes are going to be destroyed. And my real estate taxes are really high for a neighborhood that's going to be deteriorating. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to be heard on this application? Come on up. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Ranker. I live at 308 Grand Central Avenue in Amityville. My son lives on Doge's Promenade.
Do you affirm to tell the truth?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
I am against this because I do agree with all the apartments. We have 350 going up in Amityville, and he wanted more across the street, which we managed to put off for a while. In listening to the discussion about the size of the property and the uniqueness of it, and the fact that everything's going to be a very tight fit, if it's allowed to go on, which I hope it's not, but I was at the other meeting, and I was listening about the parking and listening to the side and taking stuff down. I have a couple of questions that have never been addressed. If it's such a tight fit, number one, you got 8 apartments projected, they all have to have garbage cans, or nothing's ever been said about the refuse, how that's going to work. Air conditioning units, are they outside? If they are, where they're going to be? There's no room for them. So, and nothing's ever been brought up about that. Is it going to upset another neighbor because all these units and garbage cans and everything are rolling around? I don't know. But I think a lot more thought has to be put into before anything's allowed there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to be heard on this application? Come on up. Name and address for the record.
My name is Bernadette Marchese. I live at 209 West Alhambra, which is right across the street. And I agree with what all these other people are saying. So there's really not much else to say. You've heard it all. But, you know, my family is concerned with more people in the neighborhood, more cars parking on our street, more taxes we're going to have to pay for these children to be going to school. We have enough apartments all over. The ones on Wellwood Avenue over by the post office, that's created so much traffic already in our neighborhood. So I'm just here because I want you to know that I don't agree with you putting that there. So my husband would be here tonight too, but I came instead. And my other neighbors are here also, but they're not going to come up. But I just want you to know that it's affecting all of us in the development. So that's all I can say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to be heard on this application?
My name is Anna Tambasco, and I do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Need an address, please.
And I want to thank you for being patient.
You got to give us an address, please.
Oh, my address, 40 Gateway Drive, Copiague.
Okay. Do you affirm to tell the truth?
Yes, promise. So I bought the property. I rented the property originally in 1997. The little house was, I guess I have to make this shorter. I'm gonna do what some people did. I don't want to do that, but I'm not prepared. The house was a drug house. The grass was up to here. The property, the best I can make it look right now is what it looks. It's clean. Yes, there is a little traffic problem.
You can't.
I'm sorry.
You gotta
Yes,
look at us.
there is a traffic problem because people run right through 'em with the car
Okay,
lot.
I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna tell you the same thing that I told them. What applies to the appraisal tonight?
Oh, okay. So as far as the appraisal, on that lot, if I keep the house, and I'm not even gonna do numbers, taking the house down, is I'm losing $400,000 right off the bat, a legal two-family by CO. Not really to my benefit to do that, okay? But if I take the house down, if I don't take the house down, and I put a small little commercial bank or a car wash, I can't put a bank. I tried. It's not enough. It's not enough with the in and out. I tried to do that. That would be more economical to me if I leased it out to a bank. When 7-Eleven approached me, they wanted the house. I promise you guys and the board and the people behind me, I'm not gonna look back there anymore, I promise. My son lives in the Venice. He lives in the Venice on Rainbow. I am not gonna do anything I wouldn't want there. The building that I put on this, that I proposed to put on this property, where the house is there, is all gonna be beautiful landscaping, and it's gonna be behind the parking lot. It's not gonna look nothing like the lot next door. That lot next door looks horrendous. Their garbage goes into my lot. All the front is gonna be arborvitaes, a wrought iron fence, flowering trees, and with the-
Appraisal, got to stick with the appraisal.
Okay, so,
Please.
sorry, I'm sorry, it's,
I understand, but that's what we're here for.
you know, I just want them to know, the building that I'm putting up even looks like my home. It's actually gonna look more residential than it did anything else. I have a brick house that looks like that. Yeah, all right, this is gonna have 8 doors in front of it, but the dumpster is gonna be in the back.
That answers the garbage question. That's where the garbage is going to go?
The dumpster is gonna be in the middle, in the back, against the back of my building.
Okay.
One other question to break our own rules. What about her concern with the AC units?
The AC units, everything's going to the back towards my building.
You gotta be,
Because the back of the front of the building is facing Doges, so everything is gonna be in the back where the 2 cars are against my building. And when you come in, you're gonna go in there, there's gonna be parking there, and like where the house is, right there, that's all gonna be parking across with a big buffer, and I believe the buffer is 45 feet.
units will be quiet, they won't be seen, there'll be protection around them?
Yeah, you're not
They're
gonna
be
see,
on the
you're not
ground,
gonna, it's gonna be,
On the surface?
I'm sorry?
Be on the ground, on the surface, split units?
Air conditioning.
The air conditioners, everything's, I believe, in the back. It's not gonna be seen
believe we saw
because
that on
there's
the
gonna be a
plans already. I'm
buffer
just-
on Alhambra.
We're just trying to answer questions that were asked there.
Yeah,
Okay, anything else to do with the appraisal?
no, but I would like to say one thing. Lindenhurst put in 241 units. The units in Copeg don't even add up nowhere near that. We're trying to build up Copeg. We're trying to make it better. Copeg is the only place that we don't even have a senior center, like assist to live. We have none of that. You know, everybody keeps fighting, but our town really needs to look pretty on Merrick Road. And that's gonna affect the appraisal, leaving it there. My property over there, the bumps and everything, and there's only a little piece of it that is in a flood zone, by the way. A very little piece that goes right through it doesn't go, I know. I'm sorry, but I need a chance to just at least explain how I feel.
Okay.
They have a beautiful, they do, the property that they're talking about, which I really have to say this, where they're gonna, the owner said they could use, it's 40 by 100, and I know who's the owner very well, and it's on a vacant piece of property that they have a farmer's market on.
Okay. You got nothing else to say on
I'm
the
sorry,
appraisal? Let's
you know
wrap
what,
it
I
up.
want to thank you, and I just want them to know they have nothing to worry about. I wouldn't do anything that I'm not going to look at. That's my building, I'm not going nowhere, and my whole family's there, and I promise it's going to make the whole area better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, we can't, whoop, we can't go there.
May I address the report?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I must say, in listening to Mr. Nelson, I was quite impressed. And not only with his background, but the fact that he has appeared on numerous occasions before the courts of this state and Nassau and Suffolk County, where he has been qualified as an expert. And listening to him tonight and read his report, and he, succinctly followed his report, and I look forward to you having an opportunity to take a look at it. But one of the things I note is that when you talk about the unnecessary hardship and the criteria that is required to be made out by the applicant, the fact that a cash investment returns 1.36% return on your cash investment, where the property is mortgaged and using his analysis as retail space, I don't know what creation that could be considered a reasonable return for your money. And again, I know we've talked about development. I don't need to remind you, it's a 2-story, 8-apartment complex. It's not anything like anything else that was developed recently on Merrick Road in Copeg and over in Lindenhurst. And I can't see in any way how this affects the essential character of the neighborhood. I think the hardships that we have are unique. The fact that it is zoned, both business and residential, and then it goes back 150 feet, and then you have 45 feet in the C residence zone. It creates a hardship of itself, in that, especially given the climate that we have here. I mean, listen, I live in Amityville. I've driven 37 years now to my offices in Lindenhurst, and every day it's on Montauk Highway, and I see all the vacancies, all the businesses that have gone out of business, that remain vacant. And that lends itself, those vacancies lends itself to support our application, if you will, in that there isn't a reasonable return to be out here by using whatever the allowances are under the code. So I thank you for your time, and have a good night.
Thank you. Okay. That concludes the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting. Our work session will continue. The meeting remains open to the public. However, the live streaming will now end.